Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to Aussie Fish Keeping. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about what you can do if you're struggling with super high nitrate levels in your aquarium. So high nitrate levels can come about when there's all sorts of imbalances in your aquarium. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 things you can do if you are struggling with high nitrate levels. So yeah, with that being said, without any further ado, let's just jump straight into today's video with the first tip on our list. So number 1, probably the most obvious one, it's going to be doing regular water changes. So the amount of water you're going to want to change really does just depend on the severity of your nitrate issue. But usually you're going to want to perform weekly water changes of about 25 to 50%. And that is just going to dilute the nitrates in the water, which means they're not going to be as concentrated and they're going to be a lot less harmful. And when you are doing these water changes, you do want to make sure you're trying to suck out any of that detritus or uneaten food that's in your aquarium, just because that stuff does contribute to the nitrogen cycle. It obviously breaks down into ammonia, which is converted into nitrites, and those nitrites are converted into nitrates. So if you can suck out as much of that as possible, it's obviously going to mean you do have less nitrates in your water. But yeah, with that being said, as for tip number 1, it's to do regular water changes. So moving on to tip number 2, we have reduce your feeding. So uneaten fish food is probably one of the leading causes of super high nitrate levels, and that's because, like I said before, uneaten fish food is broken down into ammonia, and then through nitrification that is turned into nitrites, and then once again through nitrification it's turned into nitrates. So you should really only be feeding your fish as much as they can consume in about 2 to 3 minutes, and this helps prevent excess food from decomposing in the tank, which obviously does contribute to the formation of nitrates. And if you do notice your fish leave any food on the substrate, then you should go ahead and suck all of that food out just so it doesn't decompose. And even if the 2 to 3 minute feedings aren't working, then you may want to consider feeding your fish smaller amounts more frequently. Or if the nitrate levels are really high, you may just want to reduce the number of feedings per week. Another thing you can do is use high quality fish food. So high quality fish food is obviously very nutrient rich, which means your fish are able to absorb it a lot better than poor quality fish food. And because they're absorbing all of the nutrients and converting it into energy, there's going to be a lot less waste. And waste is another thing that does lead to the formation of nitrates in your aquarium. But yeah, with that being said, tip number 2 on our list is to reduce your feedings. As for the next tip on our list, we have to improve your filtration. So this could mean you need to clean out your filter, or you may just want to get a whole new filter altogether. So obviously I would first of all recommend just cleaning out your filter and seeing how that goes. But if that doesn't work, I'd recommend getting either a new sponge filter or an additional sponge filter, just because sponge filters foster a lot of beneficial bacteria, and that beneficial bacteria is super vital when it comes to transforming deadly ammonia into nitrites, then nitrates. And if your filter is dirty, it may be filled up with a bunch of gunk, which means all that gunk is decomposing in the filter and there's not enough beneficial bacteria in your aquarium to take care of all of that nitrogenous waste. But in saying that, you do want to try and avoid over cleaning. So you don't want to clean your filter too regularly, just because that can just wash out all of that beneficial bacteria. But yeah, with that being said, improving your filtration is definitely another strategy you could use to lower your nitrates in your aquarium. Moving on to the next tip on our list, we have another super common one, and that's adding live aquarium plants. So in particular, I'd recommend using fast growing aquarium plants like hornwort, java moss, alodia, and other plants like that, just because these sorts of plants are highly efficient at absorbing nitrates and any other sort of nutrients out of your aquarium. However, if you don't already have aquarium plants in your aquarium and you do have lots of nitrates, and you are looking to get some new aquarium plants, you do want to make sure you have adequate lighting, just because without it, your aquarium plants won't be able to take in those nutrients as effectively. So you want to make sure you have some adequate lighting that is going to support your plant's growth. And by doing that, they'll be a lot more effective at taking out any of those excess nitrates. And I mean, plants are just super beneficial for your aquarium anyway, and if you don't have any already in your aquarium, I would just highly recommend getting some. Obviously, number one, they look pretty sick, and number two, they're super beneficial, so they create a nice balanced ecosystem in your aquarium. They oxygenate the water, minimize the amount of algae you get, and obviously absorb any of those extra nutrients. But yeah, with that being said, adding plants is another thing you can do to reduce the amount of nitrates in your water. And as for the final tip on our list, we have reducing your bioload. So what your bioload is, it's basically all the fish you have in your aquarium. All of your fish are going to produce waste, and that waste is going to decompose, and through that decomposition it is going to contribute to the nitrogen cycle. And if you have a overstocked or super crowded tank, you will have a higher bioload, which means you may find a lot more nitrates in your water. So there is a few signs of overstocking. Number one, murky water is a super prominent sign that you have overstocked your aquarium. And number two, if you notice your fish are super stressed, it generally does mean that you have too many fish in your aquarium. And another telltale sign is that there's super high ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates. So if you do realize that you have a high bioload and you want to reduce it, there is a few things that you can do. So number one, you can substitute your fish out for smaller, low waste fish. So say if you have Corydoras catfish, even though they're not a very big fish anyway, you could substitute those for like pygmy cories. If you have bristlenose, you could substitute those for otocinclus. Guppies, you could substitute for endlers. There's really so many different substitute fish out there. And the smaller the fish obviously means the smaller amount they're going to contribute to the bioload. And you really want to try and have the lowest bioload possible. And that's just going to mean you have a super nice balanced ecosystem in your aquarium. And if you do have an overcrowded aquarium but you don't want to take out any of your fish, you will just need to clean your filter a lot more often. You really need to make sure you're not overfeeding them, and you also want to make sure you have plenty of plants in there and that your water is staying crystal clear. And as long as you're doing that, then you shouldn't have too many troubles with extremely high nitrates in your water. But yeah, with that being said, reducing your bioload is definitely another tip when it comes to reducing the amount of nitrates in your water. So with that being said, that is actually going to bring us to the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope this video helps you guys out. If you did enjoy today's video and you haven't done so already, please make sure to go down and subscribe, and while you're down there, smash the like button and comment your thoughts on today's video. I always love going down there and reading them all, and I try to reply back to as many comments as I can. Also, if you haven't done so already, make sure to go check out my website, aussiefishkeeping.com. I've got all sorts of live fish, botanicals, and other aquarium products on there. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in that next video.